Alrighty guys, so this is my latest upgrade. This is the B8.5 steering wheel on a B8. Got a smoking deal on it, so couldn't say no. Got it here locally by a guy. Happened to be from my hometown, so got a pretty good deal. Worked out great. It was just a plug and play. I know a lot of guys talk on forums that it is a pain with the connector or whatnot. However, I had no issue with my factory steering wheel. So this is the factory one. Pretty straightforward. I left the ignition on, turned the steering wheel sideways to access the little tabs in the back. Once you pull that tab off, there's a screw, T30s on both sides, which is pretty easy to get to. Once you have it turned sideways, the screws will not come out. They're meant to stay there. I believe you can probably take them out if you do push them. I didn't try, but they do kind of go back if you push them backwards. However, you get the two screws in the back. Once you unscrew that, you can just make sure this airbag slides out a little bit. It will still be held by that little wire that plugs right into there, the little connector. This connector will be plugged into your spring, clock spring right behind the steering wheel. It's like a plasticky clock spring right behind here. The connector, I was afraid the connector wouldn't be the same. Luckily enough, just the plug was a bit different. The plug was wasn't like that. It was just a straight, went all the way here. It's just different tab for releasing the tab. So just pull and push, and comes right off. The bolt that was right over here, a lot of guys talk about replacing this bolt. I did not. However, some guys says they do, because if they stretch or whatnot, they do have lots of Loctite on it. I made sure I lined up my bolt, my steering wheel with the little tab there. I lined it up. I put lots of Loctite on it, blue Loctite, as well as what they had, and I think the torque spec was 40 Newton meters, so I always go a little bit higher than what the specs are. I have an electronic torque wrench, so I always go a little bit higher because they're not very accurate. But I put enough Loctite on it, and I don't think it's going to come loose, so I'm pretty happy with it. Tighten it pretty tight. As the German says, gut and tight. The airbag, that was pretty straightforward. Once you put the new steering wheel in, the new steering wheel don't have any bolts in the back. All it is little clips that clips into the steering wheel that has little slots. The airbag will have little clips on the back. You have to push it, line them up, and just make sure you push it hard enough so it clips on the back. And to release it, obviously you'll have to turn the steering wheel, push the clips back one by one, and then you can release it. What I did when I was replacing it, before I unplug everything, I had this plugged in, unbolted that. A lot of guys will go to the trunk and unhook the negative. However, I went this route instead of taking all the covering and all that, which is a bit of a pain. There is a negative right over here, and you can just unbolt this. I think it's 17 mil socket. Just unbolt the two negatives, make sure they're both on the side, and you'll be good to go. That's what I did. And put my new steering wheel in, the airbag, and everything works great. Had no codes. I do have the VCDS scanner. Didn't have any codes, which was nice. The other thing is, in case you wonder what that Nav button does, and you didn't have it on the B8, you had only the voice command here and the volume control, as well as the mode was here, and the buttons to change in your dictionary or music. So what that button does, the nav, all it is when you have the navigation active, it tells you where to go. If your navigation is active, tells you left, or in 500 meters, you'll turn right. So that's all it does. The B8 didn't have the mute option. So all that is when you push on here, it's supposed to mute it. It actually doesn't mute. I compared it with the SQ5. The SQ5 have that B8.5 steering, and you can mute it with that. But in this model, they had the nav button in this volume button. So when you press the volume button, click on it, it will say the navigation is not active, which makes sense because it didn't have the option for the nav. So when you press on it, it won't mute. It will just tell you that the navigation is not active, and if it is active, it will tell you the direction you need to go. Other than that, nice and beefy. I like the feeling of it. That's not like my B7S4, just kind of outdated a little bit. So I'm very happy with the results. Steering wheel feel, no paddle shifts. Obviously it's a manual. This one is automatic, 8-speed, but yeah, same steering. Both look nice. I'm very happy. So if you have any questions or whatnot, feel free to ask, but it should be pretty straightforward. My airbag was a 8K airbag from a B8.5, so it was pretty straightforward. I didn't have any problems with the connectors. This connector goes along with the steering wire buttons. It's just this connector is where you need to make sure this will match. So as long as it's 8K, I don't think you'll have any problem. Make sure the airbag is the 8K, and you'll be good to go. Yeah, so if you have any questions, hit the thumbs up or feel free to ask. Thanks, guys. So here's an example. Enough. There's nothing. If press.
Navigation is not active. Pardon?
Everything works.
No entries are available.
That doesn't. And now. Mutes.
Navigation is not active.
Mute.
Navigation is not active.
So there you go, in case you wonder what that button does in your B8 when you change the steering wheel.